and welcome back to another episode of the 10 questions series where we put one of your favourite YouTube gardening faces under the microscope and ask them 10 questions, which so far we've managed to do and get some very, very different answers. So today I am so thrilled to have on the wonderful Liz Zorab. Hello, Liz.
Hello, Jane. That was a very nice introduction. Thank you.
Whilst you can pay me later. As ever, Liz, I've automatically gone straight over into the first question here, but we'll try and tie it in anyway, because my first question to you is, who are you and what is your channel?
I'm Liz Zorab, and my channel is just that. It's my name. It's Liz Zorab, and sometimes if you want to, you can put a hyphen with Byther Farm written after it.
By the farm. Now that had me questioning that for quite some time. Do you want to explain the background to that?
Yes.
By the farm?
So it's Byther farm, not by. It's one word, not two separate words. And when my husband, Mr. J, and I were trying to think of a name for our farm or for our house, and also for my business, we went through, should we call it Raspberry Cottage? We went through all sorts of different names.
Yeah.
And he said, well, let's think what we're close to. So, we're by the road, we're by the river, we're by the small holdings. We're by the farm. And so it became By the Farm. And then as a nod to being very close to Bristol and that I grew up in Bristol, I added the R on the end to give it Byther Farm. So it just has a bit of a West Country tang to it.
I often wondered about that. I did wonder about that, but it hasn't just applied to where you are at the moment, has it? You coined the phrase.
It's the name of my business, so it comes with me wherever I go.
Fantastic. You're haunted by it, or it's haunted by you. It's a good job you like it, isn't it? Imagine if you chose the one you didn't like. You'd have been stuck.
I have thought, shall I change it? And then it's like, well, what's the point? What's the point? It's good fun. It means nothing and it means everything.
It does, absolutely does. So then, you've touched on it a little bit, Liz, there, but this takes us nice and neatly into question number 2, which is, where do you garden?
So I garden, well, this time of year, middle of winter, all the gardening goes on in here.
Most of us are like that, yeah.
I'm based in Wales, so I've been on 2 different places in Wales. Previously I was in Monmouthshire, and now I'm in East Carmarthenshire. I'm 3/4 of the way up a mountain, or maybe even more than that.
Yeah.
I'm using the word mountain loosely because I think, in terms of geographical accuracy, it's probably still a hill, but it is called a mountain. So I'm 3/4 of the way up a mountain on a north-facing, very windy slope that's kind of in the middle of a wind farm. So when we were looking around, maybe I should have got the clue from the wind farms that it might be a bit windy. I knew West Wales was going to be wet. So it's wet, it's windy, it's north-facing, it's pretty exposed, it's pretty steep, and I absolutely love it.
I was going to say, the perfect spot to start gardening. Yes. Well, it certainly sounds like you like a challenge, Liz. And I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? It keeps us interested. It does keep us interested. Although I bet there are times when,
it keeps us challenged. I think it's the best way of it's. Gardening is so easy, and it's so simple. And once you've learnt it once, there's nothing else to learn. And I'm just going to say, for anybody who's listening to this and not watching it, I'm shaking my head frantically when I'm saying this.
And I'm agreeing.
So I don't think it matters where you garden, how long you've been gardening. There's always stuff to learn. There's always new things to try. Nature likes to throw new things at us all the time. And I actually revel in that constant challenge of learning new things.
And if it's getting too easy for you, then you need
to make it
to find
harder.
a spot. Go up a mountain and see how you get on up there. When we lived up in Northumberland, We were 1,000 feet above sea level,
Wow.
and well, I've mentioned before, we were on a flight path for army training
Mhm.
planes, and they used to use our cottage as one of the things that they could see. But it was so windy. It was one of those places, absolutely beautiful, but all the trees were at that angle. And
Yeah,
again, you sort of feel like if I'd known then what I know now, we'd have known that, it wasn't going to be any good putting anything other than, anything higher than 18 inches just wasn't
yeah.
going to grow. So, but a challenge nonetheless. I commend you for that challenge, Liz. You've done very well.
Thank
Right,
you.
okay. So in that case, we know you like a challenge. What is your main reason for growing?
Oh, well, number one, no. There's two. Can I have two main reasons?
Go on
One,
then.
one is I love gardening.
Mm,
Uh, so from just sheer enjoyment and mental health, it is everything that makes my soul sing.
yeah.
And then the flip side of that is I actually grow to feed my family and as my contribution to the economics of our family.
Mm, mm. I think they tie in. I think that's one great big reason. But I mean, to think that it makes your soul sing, that is just gorgeous. And I know in this series, when I've asked different people, the word joy and satisfaction, all these things, mental health, physical health,
Yeah.
they're all coming together. And it's just, yeah, it's so holistic. I think it doesn't have to be, but it can be. And certainly in your case, where you are, what percentage of the food that you eat do you grow, or grow do you eat, would you say?
So in our last place, I got up to about 85%. It's not
Wow.
quite as much. Yeah, not
That's
quite
a
as
lot.
much here. So we're probably on about 70%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but hopefully, I'm hoping by the end of this year, 2024, we will be back up to about the 80%,
Wow.
something like that.
I mean, that's
And
just not a few
one of the
tomatoes.
reasons it's dropped is because Mr. J uh, hasn't been drinking as much homemade wine in the last year. So, so he's been buying it in, and when he goes to the shop to buy other things in, it's like, well, then we buy other bits
Mm.
and pieces. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, and also because I had some fairly spectacular failures this year in the garden. So,
Go on. Give us one.
oh, carrots, parsnips,
Oh, that's two.
that's
Go on,
two.
I'll let you have.
My root veg were not
Veg.
great this year.
Was that the rain?
Oh, well, rain and maybe just really cold temperatures. Oh, yeah, I think the ground was just very, very soggy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and and this time last year, I got COVID,
Mm.
and it knocked me for weeks and weeks and weeks. So I just then became really behind in planting everything,
Yeah.
and that kind of, although lots of things caught up, so tomatoes caught up, and all sorts of things caught up. I was really conscious that things that needed to get in the ground very early in the year.
Mm.
So
Mm.
those root veg that needed a nice long growing season, they really suffered. So I have the world's most pathetic parsnip plants in the garden that are still only got maybe 4 leaves on them now.
Well, there you go. There you go. But this year's a new year. It's a
It
new
is,
year. But yeah, I think if you lose it early on, you feel, especially if you're relying on that food for the
yeah.
majority of what you eat, yeah, it's constant firefighting, isn't it, to try and catch up all the time. So, Liz, slightly different question here. I would like to know, why did you start your channel?
Oh, well, when
And
when we,
and I'm going to add a one on there. I'm going to add a second bit to that. And when?
oh, so the when is 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So I started daily vlogging, which I did pretty much daily. So at least 6 days a week, and probably 6 days a week and a live chat.
Mm.
I did that for 19 months.
Wow. That's
Uh,
exhausting just thinking about it.
yeah, it was.
Yeah,
It was. It was great fun, but it was exhausting.
exhausting. Yeah.
Um, and one of the reasons I started is when we had decided to move to our previous home, I started writing a blog to kind of record what I was doing and record
Mm,
the changes.
mm,
And about a year after starting the blog, I was trying to explain something. It was like, it's so complicated to try and explain in writing with some photographs. It would be easy if I just did a little bit of video.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
recorded a bit of video very dodgily and shakily on my phone and
Mm,
added that into my blog. And then a
mm,
couple of days later, I was doing something else and thought, well, this would be easier to film.
mm.
And then I kind of thought, actually, maybe now is the time to move over.
Yeah.
And some really quite big homesteading channels in America were at that point really encouraging people to pick up their phones and their cameras and do daily vlogging and share their lives,
Mm,
not
mm.
everything, but share their homesteading lives. And I just thought, yeah, I want to be part of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that's why I started.
Yeah. And you're still writing now? As I can see, Liz, if we just take a little look over your shoulder,
Oh,
we
neatly,
have
subtly placed. So
two, two books in there.
subtle.
Two books in, but that just goes to show that that love of writing, you've still got that. And I believe you're going to be
I
writing.
do love writing,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And aren't you going to be writing for, is it amateur gardening this year?
Amateur gardening magazine, yes. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna
Fantastic.
have a column in amateur gardening. I still haven't got a start date for that yet. Hopefully I will have a start date in a couple of weeks' time, as
Yeah.
in I'll have the date in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yes, I do like writing. It's a much more considered
Yes.
uh, discipline,
Yeah.
and particularly with book writing, because those books are just there forever,
Mm. Mm.
forever.
Yeah.
So I try and make sure that everything I've written is written from the heart and written with good intention,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
written in a way that it can't be misinterpreted.
It's the polar opposite of Twitter, as it's now called X, is it? But yeah, the whole
Actually, it's the
sporadic.
polar opposite of any of those very fast social media.
Yeah.
Anything that takes just a bite size,
Yeah.
a snippet, a 30 seconds.
Mm.
How do you? I mean, they have their place, and I
Yeah.
do use
Oh,
shorts and I
absolutely.
use reels on Instagram and things. But I do think, how do you condense uh, a how to do
Yeah. Yeah.
into something that's that short, that people are actually going to take away proper information from?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the writing process,
Mm.
apart from the fact I just enjoy it as a discipline. Hopefully it's something, when I'm no longer here,
Mm.
people will be able to read those books. I kind of get a flavour of how we lived.
And who you are. Yeah. Yeah. And it's, I think as well, with something as long term as that, you're talking about giving good information, but it's a responsibility, isn't it? And it's not
Yes,
just a responsibility to the reader, it's a responsibility to yourself, that you are reflecting your true, what you truly think about various
yes.
items of gardening. Very good. Very good. I like that. I like writing. It's nice. Right. Okay, Liz.
And hang on, while we're here, shall we
Yes.
just remind me again about your writing?
Yes.
Go on, do
Did
yourself
I
a little slow
casually, did I
promo. Come on,
casually
do
drop
a
that? Oh,
promo.
Liz. Well, just so happens in my little box of treasures next, I haven't got them behind me. I am now writing occasionally, not all the time,
Yay!
but there we go. Yeah, I'm loving it, Liz. I've just submitted my fourth article to Kitchen Garden magazine. And yes, it makes you think. You can't just put things out. You go back a day after, and I really enjoy it. And I think it's tapped into something I've probably always enjoyed, but never really found a use for. If
Mm,
that sounds right, and then I think,
yeah.
oh, I really enjoy writing that, and people seem to enjoy reading it. Great. It's lovely.
And the nice bit is that there are different writing styles for different
Yes.
magazines.
Yeah.
So when I write in, say, Permaculture magazine, which I've done for the last nearly 3 years,
Mm.
I'm much more poetic.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm probably as much more poetic than, and I don't mean poetry, but I
No,
mean
lyrical. More lyrical, maybe.
I'm more flowery. I tap
Yeah.
into a more artistic
Yeah.
language,
Yeah. You're
maybe.
writing for your audience, and it's good to,
Yeah.
yeah. to accept what your audience wants, that's good.
And
Right.
yeah, and I think, most of all, I think my audience, whether it's a viewership or a readership, know that they're going to get my opinion,
Mm.
my experience, and a pretty healthy dose of humour, because like,
And that's what
I
keeps us
don't take
going.
myself too jolly seriously.
Yeah, that's good to know. That's good to know. I think once you start doing that, you're on I don't know, a handcart to somewhere. I can't remember what it is, but
A
yeah,
slippery slope.
something like that. That'll do. I'm terrible. I'm terrible with these sayings. I can only ever
Phase,
remember
yeah.
the beginning or the end, and I usually put them together in the wrong manner. So, right, okay, Liz, question number 4. No, Liz, we're on question number 5. This is what happens when Liz and I start talking. We just completely go off it. Okay, Liz, what is your first garden memory?
Oh, I was about, well, it was before I was 3.5, so I was really young. I was in the garden with my dad, and he showed me how you can squeeze the sides of antirrhinums, the snapdragons, to make them open. And he showed me those, and then I went round the corner to a different bed, and I squeezed open a whole load of other flowers, and they were fuchsia flowers. And I popped all these fuchsia flowers open. And bless my dad, he didn't lose his temper or anything. He just sort of
Oh,
guided me to maybe use these
yeah,
ones over here and not
yeah.
know. But I
Oh,
had broken all his
oh,
fuchsia that was
bless him,
just
his prize fuchsias. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so
And
that's my earliest memory of destroying somebody else's.
and maybe ever since then you've vowed somewhere inside, you've vowed to make good, you know,
Maybe, but do you know what? I still have this thing of going up to fuchsia flowers, fuchsias,
fuchsias. I was going to
and just
say,
popping them open.
yeah, well, no one's looking. I've been at garden shows with you, Liz. I'm going to keep you away from the fuchsia stand from now on. I think that's lovely though. But so many people are saying that it's memories of their family,
Yeah,
and even if it didn't mean anything particularly then, you come back round to it, don't you? And you appreciate it then. And yeah, lovely. I used to have the snapdragon thing. My dad used to do that with me, and
yeah.
it was a mainstay of the 1970s garden with snapdragons. I don't know if we did have fuchsias, snapdragons, pelargoniums, and we had standard roses, about 3. And that was very smart. Lots of
Standard
soil.
roses have done us full circle. I have recently celebrated a birthday, and for my birthday, I got some standard roses.
You know what? Your dad would be proud. Your mum and dad, or at least my mum and dad would be proud. They absolutely love them. Oh, how lovely. Just goes to show how things go full circle.
Yeah.
Right, okay, Liz. We've heard that you're halfway up a mountain in very challenging weather in Wales, but I'm going to ask you, what would your ideal gardening space be? Or have you got it?
Oh, well, of course I haven't got it. Because if a gardener had their ideal growing space, oh,
What's the point? Yeah.
um, so um, it certainly wouldn't be as big a plot as I'm in now. There's a story which one day I'll share with you about why we're in such a big plot. I think my ideal gardening space would be about a third of an acre, which would include the house.
Mm.
Um, and it would be a very ornamental food forest.
Okay. So when you're talking about that then, so would you not be wanting to provide all your own food, or would you be providing that within that food forest?
Providing that within, so it would be
Okay.
very similar to my old garden. I'm
Yeah.
going to say it would probably be flat rather than on a slope.
Yeah, and not in such a wind tunnel,
I
maybe.
don't mind being in a wind tunnel. Actually, the
Okay.
wind thing doesn't bother me as much as, my legs are getting old. So,
Dries the washing. Mm.
uh, well, it doesn't dry the washing because it rains so much
Oh,
here.
well, yeah, yeah, yeah. This,
But no, so I would have level ground. I wouldn't really mind what sort of soil it was, because you can fix soil.
yeah,
You can
yeah.
you can have raised beds, and you can fix how soil is.
A third of an acre. Remind me how many acres you have at the moment.
Four
And
and a
even
half.
just saying that, yeah, 4.5. So
Mhm.
that would be quite a considerable downsize.
Yes,
But
and
yeah,
partly because having so much space, and even the space that we had in our last place, is an absolute luxury. You know, I'm always aware of what a luxury it is, and a third of an acre would be a luxury too. I'm
yeah,
aware, you know, I know it's a lot bigger than most people's, but I think that would give me room to experiment and to express myself. It would give me like way more than enough space to not only feed my family but feed neighbours and maybe
yeah,
even run a small veg spot scheme.
yeah,
So
yeah. That's
yeah,
interesting. That's interesting because most people want to go bigger, don't they? You know, whereas you can see it all and you can condense it and yeah, see that work. And that's interesting. Okay. Right. Liz, the question we all look forward to, a quick surprise question. Lark or owl?
oh,
It's tricky.
oh,
What comes
lark,
naturally to you? Lark?
lark,
Lark.
yeah.
Okay. We've had conversations about this, Liz and I think the trick with Liz here is it's you sort of cross that you cross that line, don't you? If there could be a cross between an owl and a lark, I think you'd fit that one very well. That's good.
Lowl,
Owl.
a lowl.
We'll do. That's fine. We'll invent one just for you, Liz. Just for you. Right. Okay. This is another bit I like because I never know what these answers are going to be. So I'm always as surprised as the viewer when
You'll
this
be
one
surprised
comes
with me as well.
up. Probably will. I'm sure it will. Is there anything that viewers might not know about you that you would like to share?
Oh, that I can share.
Mm, well, yes.
Yes, okay. I have got which I know I have shared in one video way back 6 years ago, but I probably haven't shared it since then. Anyway, when I was 20-ish,
Mm,
20 or 21, I was involved in a motorbike accident
oh,
and I broke two bones in my back
right.
in between my shoulder blades.
Ooh.
And yeah, and I had that whole body cast thing on the top half of my body. No, I was really, you know,
Oh
they
my
they didn't
goodness.
there was never any question of whether I'd walk again or not. I hadn't severed my spine, or, you know, obviously because I'm up and about and walking.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the compression factors, so the two bones are smaller than they were.
yeah,
And so quite often when I'm lifting things or if I'm moving soil or compost around, you'll actually see me. I don't bend my legs and
right.
distribute the weight right across my back as most people would. And I occasionally have people say to you, you ought to bend over more. And it's actually, I can't because I'm having to protect various different bits of my back to
Yeah.
compensate for being weaker across the top there.
Oh my goodness me. And yet, what a testament to determination and strength that you
I
are
think it's
still
called
saying.
bloody-mindedness, actually.
But the fact is, your life is very physical. You know,
Yes.
getting out and doing that gardening is so physical. And I wonder if that has helped that at all. Maybe keeping mobile
I,
has helped.
there was yes, possibly, but there was also just a part of me that sort of said, okay, so that happened, but and it happened so early in my life. It was like that's not going to stop me,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know. And so I quite often, you know, when I've come across things that are hurdles, particularly if it's health issues that are hurdles, it's like I'll live it right now, but it's not going to stop me in my long-term goal.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Fantastic. So it's really pragmatic approach. Yeah. I wish I was a bit more like that, Liz. I get a sniffle and it's,
I'll moan.
you
You
know,
know, I will moan like mad about being poorly at the time,
yeah.
but in the back of my head, it's just part of the reason I moan if I'm feeling well is because there's stuff I want to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Life is so exciting. There is so much to explore and so much to discover
Mm,
and so much to enjoy. I
mm.
seriously don't want to spend my time feeling under the weather, being poorly, or being physically incapacitated.
And here you are running your own food forest, food. What would you call your place? Food farm? Is it a farm? Is it a food forest? Is it a?
Well, it's just a garden.
A
It's just a
garden.
garden. It's just a garden.
Big self-sufficient garden. I think that's
Yes.
incredible. Yeah, yeah. Right, Liz, you've
Yes.
given a lots of insights into the way you look at things. And I think it's really, really valuable already for people who might be thinking about starting out either in gardening or with a YouTube channel. But what advice specifically would you give to, oh, there we go, there's two, either someone who's starting out in gardening and or someone who wants to pick up a camera and start doing their own channel? What would you say to them?
Oh, okay. It's the same answer for both.
Mm,
Dream big,
right, okay.
start small.
I'm glad you said
So,
that.
so
Yeah.
keep in the back of your mind the big picture, the goal, whether it's that amazingly abundant garden or whether it's a flourishing YouTube channel, but start with one step at a time and one small bit at a time.
Mm, mm. I am so glad you added the start small, because a lot of people will go in with the big dream and very soon they realize it's going to maybe take a little bit longer than they
Oh, it's
thought.
going to take a huge amount of time and a
Yeah,
huge amount of effort,
yeah,
and you can get disheartened really quickly.
yeah. And you want
You
to
know,
say to
all those
people,
kind of real cliche things about, the longest journey starts with one step and all of
mm,
that sort of thing. It's absolutely true. It's
yeah,
like if you do one small piece at a time,
mm,
it's a bit like doing housework, Jane. You only ever need to do the bit in front of you
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the rest will take care of itself.
Or a jigsaw. Or a jigsaw. That's why
Yes.
I love jigsaws. But it's true. It's true. And so many people do get disheartened. But not just with if their channel doesn't within a certain amount of time, but if their garden doesn't look exactly like they wanted it to, like you were saying earlier on,
No,
in their head at this
sold.
time of
Mm.
year.
We're sold these amazing dream gardens,
Mm,
forgetting that there was a team of people and thousands of pounds. And if you look at anybody, and that's why I like YouTube so much, because gardeners on YouTube are, we're basically we're showing you the reality, which is
yeah.
that this little bit I'm showing you is beautiful, but when you pan sideways, you see all the chaos just over there.
Don't look that way. Don't look that way.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Good.
and we say, the parsnips didn't grow and the carrots didn't, and the slugs ate everything, and you get the reality of it. And the reality is, is that gardens are imperfect things.
Yeah. 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 And again, keeps us interested. Keeps us interested. Liz, that's you done. That is
Hurrah!
you done. That has been really, really interesting. But what I'm worried about now, and again, this is something I don't know what's about to happen. And knowing Liz like I do, it could be anything. So I'm a little bit worried because Liz, now is your time to ask me a question of your liking that I have got to give you an answer to. So fire away.
Oh, well, you see, I know at one point I was going to ask you a question, and then someone else asked you it. They
Oh,
certainly,
you could ask me
yes.
the same one because I've got a different answer now.
So, Jane, if you were starting, so I'm not going to ask you a different question now. If
Oh,
you were starting all over again, who would you have to come and help you? And they can be a fictional person, they can be a living or deceased person. So who would you have to come and help you start a new garden?
so hard. That is so hard. If you'd limited it to fictional or I'm thinking who's the one who did all the gardens, all the smart gardens with the topiary and everything back in the 18th century? I can't remember, but anyway, not him. Um I don't know because it's trying to think of people straight away, isn't it? You only have
Yes.
to decide between owl and lark. I've got to decide between all right. All right, there's other
Well,
people out there.
I'll just make it a little bit simpler. Name one of the gardeners that you quite admire.
I tell you who
This
I
isn't
would.
very admire. This is just quite.
No, 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 no. I tell you who I would have, and this is only because he's just come to mind. And I think I'd ask you. I think I'd ask Hugh Richards to come up because he
Oh,
has got
nice.
the idea very similar to yours, Liz, the whole permaculture idea. And I think that's what I would want to improve in my garden is
The other
trying to
thing is,
get.
Jane, he's really good at moving compost and moving wood chips. But if you've got stuff that needs moving around, Hugh's like an absolute powerhouse for doing stuff like that.
Well, as well, you could do that. But yes, I would like to know how I could improve. I've got plenty of space, but I would like to know how I could make it work better within itself. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah.
How I could better get it to support itself. I do the companion planting bit and a little bit of rotation and interplanting, and so I do lots of it. But for that to just get tightened up, I think I'd quite like that. Either that or Gertrude Jekyll to plant some pretty flowers because she's lovely and she was one I first was aware of when I looked into gardening. You know, her gardens at Sissinghurst. So yeah. And you,
Nice,
and
nice
you, of
answer.
course, Liz, you're always welcome to get up here with a shovel and wellies. I realise now I've just offended everybody else, every other gardener. But yeah, you put me on the spot. That wasn't fair.
Do you know what? I think we all have people that if we all had that question thrown at us, there would be people, you know, like,
The thing is, though, with these questions, each one that I've been asked so far, I've gone away and within half an hour to an hour, I've got a different answer. Or,
yes.
because you have time to digest it and think, actually, yeah, And I had I was talking to Nigel from Muddy Boots the other day, and he asked me to name my top 3 garden tools that I couldn't do without. I couldn't get past number 1. Honestly, a hurry knife. I ended up including, well, I won't tell you what I ended up including, but it wasn't actually a tool. So, so it's tricky. It is tricky. Yeah. That's fantastic. Thank you, Liz. Oh, now this is it, you see. You've really got me thinking now. I'm supposed to go away thinking I've learned all this stuff from you, but what you've done is just got my mind going, which is great. I really, really enjoy that. But I would just like to
Jane,
say
thank you so much for inviting me. It's
it's
been
it's
really nice.
it's been a pleasure, Liz. I know how busy you are. In fact, I know that shortly after this finishes, you're off to give your gardening expert advice to the whole of Wales.
Yeah, so I'm off to BBC Radio Wales this afternoon.
Yeah.
I love doing that. That's great fun.
Another string to your bow, isn't it? That's fantastic. So if I can just say to you, Liz, if I can put your details below, we've got what would you like me to include? We've got your YouTube channel, obviously. You've got a
And my
Facebook
website.
page, your website,
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah.
The list goes on, doesn't it? The list goes on. We will put those all down below. But also I will put a playlist of all the other question and answer sessions that we've done so far. I really hope you're enjoying them.
And you need to watch those because they've been brilliant.
They have been fun. There are various different levels of technical ability from my part, but I've been learning as I've been going on.
Well,
So
I'm just looking at the colours now, and you've got like these beautiful, rich colours behind you. I look completely washed out, but it could be that I am actually just completely washed out. It's winter,
and that
so we'll
colour gives me a bit
pretend.
of colour. I am completely washed out. Liz, it's been an absolute pleasure. I would like to say thanks again. Go along and see Liz's channel. I'm sure you're all there anyway, but go and have a look and we'll see you again soon. Okay, bye.